Thanks so much to 236,000 of you that decided to follow SwitchUp. It's thanks to you that Nintendo are providing us with early review codes, and we can bring you this preview of Triangle Strategy on the Nintendo Switch. It's a game where you need to experience the story yourself, so that's not something we're going to be delving into. But we will talk about the general setup, the layout of the game, the combat system, how your characters level up, and some interesting aspects of the TRPG gameplay. We'll then have a brief chat about visuals and the audio as well. As I'm sure you'd expect, the embargo conditions are very strict, and all of this information relates to the very first 3 chapters of the game. What exactly is Triangle Strategy all about? Well, let's find out.
A new future is before us. A bright future.
After an initial cutscene which introduces the world with the 3 kingdoms, you're introduced to the main protagonist, and things start out reasonably slowly. Think Game of Thrones, when everyone's not killing each other, but that there's constantly political turmoil and competition just below the surface. There's a collaboration of sorts at play, and everyone's on their best behaviour. In terms of the gameplay and controls, it's split in 2 different phases. The overview or planning stage allows you to access the roster, where you can see the units you currently have available and their current experience levels, and go into details with their weapons, accessories, stats, and other abilities. And even in the first 3 chapters, you already have quite the army building. What's really impressive here is that each and every one of them is voice acted and has their own story, which I definitely can't go into. Everyone starts out as a recruit, and each has their own weapon rank, which can be upgraded. The way this is done is through medals, which I believe are earned in combat, which will allow you to specialize their class, and then that medal's used up. One very cool element is that you can actually flit through the different statistics, and it will rank your troops based on who has the highest. A good example might be their health, or their strength, the amount of magic attack or magic defense they have, and it makes planning for certain battles easier. From this area, you can move to your encampment, and within those first 3 chapters you'll unlock a few new people who inhabit this area. One of them, the Sundry Shop, has a trade post, and the currency that you use to purchase items from him is essentially kudos earned from doing specific things in battle, and it's also through him that you'll be promoting your troops. Although you can't reach it just at this level, it does give you an idea of what to expect when you do. There's also your standard merchant, the provisioner, allowing you to buy and sell items. From them, you can also pick up different raw materials, which I guess will be used for crafting at a later point in the game. And then you've got the smithy. Combined with the right raw materials and a decent amount of coin, you can then begin to rank up your weapons. Finally, there's the tavern, which acts almost as a training area, and it's a series of combat encounters that will reward you with a crafting component, while also teaching you some more advanced strategies. This area has already grown significantly since the beginning of the game, and I should imagine there's only going to be more and more added. Your missions are shown on this main over map. You can look around, have a look at some of the other factions in the region, and quickly switch to the available missions using the directional buttons. You'll either have side content or main content, and as the title suggests, the side is optional and adds quite a bit of exposition, usually running directly parallel to what's going on in the main storyline. I've been quite surprised by how grounded in reality the story and content has been so far, in terms of the slow, gradual build, and they're really taking the time with the characters, allowing you to get to know them. Now, at certain times in the game, you will have to make decisions. These are shown on the screen as 3 separate options, and each represent a different alignment. You're not swayed in any one direction, and you're free to choose exactly what you want. However, your choice will then impact statistics going on behind the scenes, which change the way that certain story elements play out, and also the reactions of the other characters in the world. As you amass a following, there are times where you'll have to use these scales. This is essentially a voting system where everyone in your party can vote on the next destination. So it's a really interesting system to see each of your party having their vote, but you can then go and talk to them and essentially use those underlying drives that you've relied upon in some of those on-screen questions throughout the game to steer your conversations, making you more able to persuade in a certain area. This allows you in part to influence some of the voters. It's by no means guaranteed, and it's a nice and realistic system. The votes are cast, and then you'll go where you go based on which side's won. The next phase of the game is the adventure stage. This allows you to walk freely around the town or location that you're currently in. You might find hidden items, chat to the inhabitants, And some of those conversations can be very useful to the story. Certain pieces of information can only be gleaned from doing this, and this may alter the way the dialogue goes. Some inhabitants will have an exclamation mark above their head, and these will always lead to one of the aforementioned allegiance style questions. And when you're ready to continue the story, you simply press the plus button and leave the area. Let's jump into the combat before we look at the visuals and audio. There's a chance some of you have already played the game, but I'll try and cover a few things that maybe you don't know about. Before combat begins, you can place your troops, and from your roster, there are recommended characters, those who will be particularly effective in the current battle. When combat begins, there's a clear turn order shown here, and in a really smart move, the game shows you not only where you can move, but it also demarcates where you're going to get hit by the enemy, either aerially or with melee combat. It does that with different colours, as well as a line showing ranged. You can also act out your moves before you actually execute them. It will show you exactly the amount of damage you're going to do if you make connection, with the percentages shown as well. And if you're not happy with the outcome, you can simply press B to backtrack. The combat uses different elevations for damage increases, rear attacks for backstabs, or having multiple friendly troops surround the enemy, and an attack will trigger a chain attack from the others around, albeit at a slightly lower damage cost. Magic abilities can cast status effects on the environment, such as when you freeze the ground, and you'll need to use flames to get rid of that, as it will slow anyone that's within its vicinity. But those flames will then melt it, and it will become a watery wet puddle that could be electrocuted. As far as the controls go, well, you move the camera and pan it around with the left stick, and the right stick will rotate in one of 4 axes. But if you hold it gently, you can slowly rotate the camera around. There's HD rumble here, and everyone's voice acted. Again, to avoid spoilers, I'll just say that you get to experience a few different regions in those first 3 chapters, and as far as visuals go, they look great. I mentioned the other day about that lovely 2D HD style, and it's used to great effect here, and performance has been flawless. Now, you can speed up battles using the R bumper button, which can be really useful, as you can simply hold it down, almost like a fast forward. Conversations can be set to automatic, or you can manually skip them, and that, I think, is probably as much as I can tell you so far. Keep your eye out for the full review when it drops, and again, just a massive thanks to 236,000 of you, it might even be 237 now, who have decided to follow the channel and support us on this little adventure. It is amazing. Thanks for all the comments, and to our patrons as well. And the only thing left to say is, for all things Switch, all the time, keep it switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!